So obviously I have spoken about this move on the channel multiple times, and I legitimately can't actually believe it has finally happened. But for those of you who haven't heard, the San Antonio Spurs recently just signed Chris Paul to a deal worth 11 million plus. Again, being said to reporters such as Woj and a bunch of other ones, this is one of the best moves so far in free agency. I was very surprised that the Warriors waived Chris Paul. I mean, I know the idea for the original Chris Paul trade was to move on from Jordan Poole. That was obviously very, very obvious. Jordan Poole was becoming kind of a meme on that Warriors team. He was playing pretty bad basketball, and I mean, he literally got like Batista bombed by Draymond Green in that one off season. I think that kind of cast a spell for Jordan Poole's departure. And you know, you can't get rid of Draymond Green, because not only does that man sometimes look like Donkey, which is pretty funny, and look, it's a required taste, acquired taste, I should say. What the fuck? Where am I going here? But obviously, I think Draymond Green's a very, very good player and the heart and soul, really, of that Warriors team. So they moved on from Jordan Poole. They got Chris Paul back in. They had him for 1 year. It didn't really work. He came off the bench and he got waived like a couple hours before making this video. And the San Antonio Spurs straight away scooped him up like he was some pre-workout and signed him straight away. And I've talked about this on the channel. I think Chris Paul would and is going to be one of the more perfect players that the San Antonio Spurs should, of course, obviously sign. And this makes a ton of sense. And I'm very happy for the Spurs and very happy for Victor Wembanyama, because he gets a really solid playmaker now to add to this team. Now, does this mean Chris Paul is going to start? I'm not exactly too sure. I feel like he might actually. You know, they recently just drafted Stephon Castle, which in itself was a great move. I thought they might have gone Nikola Topic, but we know with Nikola Topic's ACL and knee injuries, they were probably going to go for someone else. Is he better than Stephon Castle? We don't know now. But at the end of the day, drafting Stephon Castle has worked out so great because you bring in Chris Paul. And having Chris Paul and Nikola Topic on the same team wouldn't have really made much sense. They're too similar of a player. But you bring in Chris Paul, a guy who's actually going to playmake to Victor Wembanyama, and not only do that, but at an elite level. It's a big upgrade over Trey Jones. Like, if we think about it, they are legitimately going from Trey Jones as being their starting point guard for a lot of the year, right? Going from not only him, but Sochan, obviously, as their ball handler as well for a lot of the year too, to having those two guys who aren't exactly the greatest playmakers, to bringing in Chris Paul, who will probably start for the foreseeable future, to having Chris Paul, one of the best playmakers of all time now, passing to Wembanyama, to adding Stephon Castle, who is going to come off the bench, who I think can definitely be a pretty good playmaker in the league as well. So you go from Jeremy Sochan and, of course, Trey Jones, which is okay, probably some of the worst playmakers out there, but definitely alright for what the Spurs were trying to do. You go from them to having a depth chart of now Chris Paul as your main ball handler, Stephon Castle as another ball handler. Trey Jones will also be there. Again, he'll share with Stephon Castle. Castle might play a lot of shooting guard minutes as well this season because he's such a good defender. And Jeremy Sochan will also ball handle here and there as well, I'm assuming. But having Victor Wembanyama, a guy who already kind of pushed to being a top 15 player in the NBA, giving him now an actual playmaker, and not only an actual playmaker, but one of the best the NBA has ever seen in its history, who can legitimately probably, if he gets 30 minutes a game next season, will probably average like 8 to 10 assists per game. You go from what he had of Trey Jones is like 3 a game to that. Yeah, this is going to be absolutely crazy for Victor Wembanyama. This was a great signing by the San Antonio Spurs. It has made a whole ton of sense, and this is exactly what they needed to do. Again, I don't know if they're ready to contend for the playoffs next season. They very much might be, because they've already added 2 really good pieces. But it's going to be interesting to see in the upcoming days if they do decide to add another guy or two here and there. Because they have pieces now. You are looking at Wembanyama, Sohan, Chris Paul, Stephon Castle, Trey Jones, Zach Collins. I hope they bring back Jetty Osman. He might have gone at the time of making this video. I'm not too sure. Obviously, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson. You got like a really good group of 9 to 10 players now. All you really need to do is hope these guys eventually keep developing with their age as they keep getting older, keep getting a ton more basketball into them. And I think in no time will they probably be signing a max player in free agency to partner with Wembanyama. Probably another draft here and there will do them good as well. And yeah, eventually, yeah, imagine if somehow, or rather, I don't know how, but imagine if they got like an elite power forward in the next couple years in free agency, drafted an elite small forward. You'd have like Castle at the 1, Vassell at the 2, the small forward at the 3, the elite power forward at the 4, Wembanyama at the 5. Chris Paul will develop all the rest, all the younger players, all the bench. They will continue to grow. The Spurs team is going to be an absolute, really tough opponent for a lot of teams in the future, and they're not going to want to play these guys anymore, realistically. So I think another draft or two for the San Antonio Spurs team, and they're going to be one of the best teams in the competition. And adding Chris Paul, a veteran, to come to this team, he knows his role. He gets paid the bag, $11 million to play make to Wembanyama. He could literally add another couple years to his career if he balls out and averages like 10 and 9 a game. If he can do that with Wembanyama, yeah, this is going to be absolutely crazy. So we're going to have to wait and see whether or not Chris Paul will start. Will they go with Stephon Castle? Could Trey Jones even still work his way to starting? I'm not sure, because I still think Chris Paul's a lot better of a player than him. There'll be a lot of different questions that we're all going to have to, I guess, wait and see with what they're, of course, going to be doing in the future. But of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment your thoughts and opinions on this all down below. Do you guys think that Chris Paul to the San Antonio Spurs obviously was a great signing, or do you guys think they should have signed someone else? I'd very much like to know. Subscribe to my gaming channel and my IRL/long channels. Links for them will be in the description down below, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.